Joining me now from Houston, Texas, political commentator, filmmaker, and author of the new book, United States of Socialism. Who's behind it? Why it's evil? How to stop it? Dinesh DSouza. Dinesh, Biden is what I would call maybe an Oreo cookie, right? Some people look at him as moderate on the outside, and on the inside, he's as radical as can be because he's carrying out the Bernie Sanders agenda. Exhibit A this week, when he called the police the enemy. I think that's a pretty good piece of evidence.
Yes, Biden is behaving in a very abnormal way, given the conventional standard of American politics. Normally, once you get the nomination, you're expected to pivot to the center to try to appeal to middle-of-the-road voters because you've got your base locked up. In Biden's case, it's the opposite. He's pivoting really more like leaping to the left. In all kinds of ways. He was against free college. Now he's for it. He was for guns. Now he's vehemently against them. He's embraced the entire Green New Deal, which is the whole socialist grab bag of proposals, and now defund the police. So this is an extremist agenda that I don't think any Democrat would have gone for even just a decade or two ago. And it shows the way in which the whole party, in fact, its activist base, has become radicalized. So the Democrats may have decided not to go with the explicit socialism of Bernie Sanders, but they're getting kind of the same thing in the creeping socialism of Joe Biden. And
your book, your new book, The United States of Socialism, you point out clearly how the roots of the Democrat Party are rooted now in socialism, and it started, well, you can trace it in many areas, as you do in the book, but certainly one of the root points is their hero, Woodrow Wilson, the former president of the United States. I want to read a quote from your book. It says, "Today, the left continues with this project of concealment. It doesn't want people, especially young people, to know the role of the Democrats in protecting slavery and advancing racism. Hence the pivot back to 1619. This way, America gets the blame for what the Democrats did." Now, you've pointed this out in other pieces of literature, and I know I've read it from you before, and we talk about on this program quite frequently that the Democrat Party is the party of slavery. There's no doubt about it. But they wouldn't be able to get away with this concealment that you talk about, Dinesh, unless they had a helper, a co-conspirator, and that would be the mainstream media.
Yeah, they have really three helpers. I would say they are academia, the media, and Hollywood. And these helpers kind of work together. Academia puts out the bogus arguments, the media promulgates them, Hollywood converts them into stories. And so these are the big megaphones of our culture. It's important to realize that the slave plantation, the massive network of slave plantations that ultimately had 4 million slaves in 1860, this did not exist in 1619. No. There were a handful of slaves and indentured servants. It didn't even exist at the time of the American founding. It was, in fact, Eli Whitney's invention of the cotton gin in 1793 that unleashed the viability, if you will, of slave plantation agriculture. And the Democratic Party developed at exactly the same time to become the defender and protector of the slave plantation. So this is what is being concealed in this sort of bogus charge against America did all these horrible things. No, America didn't do them. The Democrats did them, and the Republicans tried to stop them.
They also conceal the fact that the Declaration of Independence, when it was written and then issued, set a ticking time bomb to blow up slavery at some point, because you wouldn't be able to carry out the tenets, the principles of the Declaration of Independence and coexist with slavery. And the framers of the Constitution knew this, and they just couldn't deal with it at the time of the founding. They knew at some point we would deal with it later, and we did. You referenced George Orwell. Before I get to that, I also want to say that your longest chapter is a defense of capitalism. I encourage people to read it. But you referenced George Orwell, and I want to read this quote. 1984, Orwell spoke of Big Brother as composed of two elements, the outer party, which in this case would refer to the Democrats and their allies in Hollywood and the media, and the inner party, which would here describe the spook world inhabited by deep state figures like Robert Mueller, James Comey, and James Clapper. The Democrats name their enemies. The deep state goes after them. The media is quietly alerted to do its public strafing. Hollywood is recruited into the propaganda machine, and this is the real collusion. The only collusion that poses a clear and present danger to our Republican, capital R, system of government. The bottom line is these socialists have infiltrated the system, right?
This is the key. Even these paramilitary gangs, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, would not be effective if it wasn't the case that there were powerful forces behind them. And so when they show up to do their rioting, there are bricks strategically placed for them. When they get arrested, there's bail money immediately available, and lawyers materialize out of nowhere. They have powerful friends in the mayor's office in Berkeley and Portland and even New York City. So this is the way that this operates. Orwell was very prescient, very insightful in noticing that socialism isn't just about economic confiscation. It's also about tyranny, about controlling your life, and it uses the techniques of intimidation and propaganda to rewrite history. That's what's behind the taking down of monuments and bullying people into submitting to its agenda. That's the meaning of taking a knee. It's the American answer to flying the swastika flag.
And what do conservatives and people who care about the United States Constitution do about it? Well, the answer is in the book, but in short, it is fight fire with fire. I mean, this is our moment. And if there is a silent majority out there that we talk about for now decades, they better be silent no more, because this is the moment in time. And the book is titled United States of Socialism. The author is Dinesh DSouza. Dinesh, thank you.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.